Good afternoon, everyone. Dear participants, good afternoon to all. Welcome to our webinar on the subject project management. Today we will be talking about the project management and the agile project management. I see a finger, Bernadetta. Just a second. Is there something missing? So Bernadetta, can you please write your comment on the chat site? Thank you. Today we'll be talking about the project management, as I already told, and with the local time, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. with the local Turkish time, and the 3 to 4 p.m. with the British time. We will be together with the presentation. And in the first 45 minutes in the webinar, I will present the 18 slides. We have 18 slides now. And then in the last 15 minutes, if you have any questions and if there is something not clear, I will try to answer your questions. And please note that at the end of this webinar, you will be given a certificate of participation. But for this, at the end of the webinar, again, a link containing 5 very simple questions will be shared with you. I will share with you. I will pass the link to the chat site. So you can click and enter to do examination system, and they are very basic 5 questions. So I'm sure you will answer all of them correctly, since they will be very simple. So let me try to introduce myself. First of all, I am Sadık Nazik. I'm a project management professional since 2012. Actually, I have had a chance to manage many projects up to now. Some of them was very big, some of them was very small. But from beginning to end, from requirement definitions to the closure and the customer acceptance test, I had an experience to try all of them. Some of them research and development projects, some of them traditional projects, some of them incremental projects, and some of them was adaptive projects. We will be talking all of them today. In the next slide, I will give the agenda, and we will be talking the development life cycles, different development life cycles, so you will be familiar differences of these development life cycles. Again, and I have also been in the role of the product management between the years 2018 and 2000. At the beginning of the 2023. So I had another chance to manage a product which was a learning management system, LMS product. Again, so I again had a chance to see the iterative and sprints and the Scrum methodologies. So I will give another another examples from the Agile practices today. And since 2017, I have been giving project management trainings, some basic and advanced project management, risk management, agile project management. As a tool, MS Project, advanced and basic, Scrum fundamentals, and Prince2 trainings. So it goes like that. So let's look at the agenda. Just a second. Okay, let's look at the agenda. Although the main topic of our event was project management, I thought it would be better to compare the traditional project management with the agile project management methodology. As you know, it goes popular and popular at those days, the Agile implementations, but something is confusing when we are thinking the Agile project management, because as we gave the agenda in the LinkedIn, you will see the iron triangle and the triple constraint in the project. So when we think the Agile project management, and if we try to manage the Agile project management with the iron triangle and triple constraints, there may be some difficulties on the projects, and I will try to explain in the following slides then. Since the Agile project management, it is very popular today and has a wide application area, we will be talking also the Agile project management practices today. And as you can see from agenda, our current topics are as follows. First of all, we will define the project and project management, the first and the second item. And then we will talk about the concept of iron triangle or triple constraint or the project constraint. All definitions are applicable in the project management world. With the triple constraint, we mean the scope, schedule, and cost. And I will give some details about this, what the iron triangle mean, what does the triple constraint mean, how it differs when we try to change the scope, how the time and cost changes, how the resources are changes. So we will talk this in the presentation. And the other thing is the development life cycles. This is also very important approaches. So we need to think about the development approaches to understand the Agile project management. And in the development life cycles, again, we will be talking the predictive life cycles, iterative life cycles, incremental life cycles, and the adaptive life cycles. So since there isn't any application that one application, one size fits all, so we need to select more convenient development life cycle to apply our projects. This may be predictive if your requirements are very clearly defined, but you need to select the adaptive life cycle if your requirements are changing very fast and your competitors are ahead of you and they are changing their requirements. They are giving some new products to the market. So if you want to catch your competitors, you need to be adaptive as possible. And then we will be talking the Agile project management, the definition of Agile project management. This is something similar and very similar to Agile approaches and Scrum, but there is again some differences between the traditional project management and the Agile project management. And then we will be talking about the 6 principles of Agile project management. And then, as I mentioned, iron triangle above, when we come to Agile project management, the iron triangle approach starts to cause problems, and we need to change this approach. So in the 7th section, we will be discussing why Agile project management is needed. It was not used 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Agile project management, but nowadays it is very popular. And in the product management area, the Scrum and the Kanban and the other methodologies are very popular. But we need to try to understand the background of the need of the Agile project management and some similar approaches. So in the 7th section, we will be talking about that. And the 8th section, we will talk about what this transformation includes. We will briefly touch on the contract types. in the 9th section, you will see there will be 3 contract types. There are 3 contract types in the project world, which is fixed price contracts, cost reimbursable, and the time and material. So we need to understand which is more applicable for the Agile project management when we compare with the traditional project management. And at the end, finally, we will compare both approaches. In the left-hand side, you will see the traditional project management, and in the right-hand side, you will see the Agile project management. Of course, there will be differences, but we need to understand what are the differences in order to choose the best approach for our projects to be applied. Okay, so let's start with the definition of the project. In this presentation, you see different pictures in the slide. The pyramids of Giza are in the upper left corner. The Great Wall of China is in the upper right corner, and the International Space Station and Panama Canal are at the bottom. So all of them had a starting goal. They want to reach a need they meet. So most probably one of the customers or one of the officials, maybe government, came to the supplier and explain some requirements, and then the goals are set. So all the projects want to meet some of the needs of the customers. So all were unique. The pyramids and the Great Wall and the International Space Station, they are all unique products, unique projects. So we were expecting some unique products at the end of these projects, and all had a beginning and an end. So we still expecting in the today's world, after years and years, so only little changes happen in the project world. So still in the today's world, we again have a beginning and end. So this means the projects are temporary. In the previous projects, it was temporary. It was have a beginning and end date, and now is still has beginning and end dates. So this means that nowadays also the projects are temporary. They was having goals, some targets, and today in our projects we have targets and goals in our projects. So we can say nothing has changed in terms of the definition of projects. We still think that projects are temporary. They have a beginning and an end. So we evaluate that they will reach a goal in the end, and we think that they will give a unique product, service, or result output at the end. So this is the expectation. So when we go to the definition of the project, as you can see, it's a temporary endeavor to create a project, and at the end we are expecting to see a unique product, unique service, or unique result. So if our product matches this definition, so we say that this is a project, because it has a starting point and it has an end point. And if we look at other project examples, for example, the merger of 2 companies, the improvement of processes, the commissioning of new hardware, and the development of a software or research and development can also be considered as a project. So in our world, there may be lots of projects, and we all say, I have a project in my mind. So when you see your friend, also he or she could say, I have a very good project in my mind. So we are using the project term in daily life. We all have projects in our minds, but we need to use this term as careful as possible. It should be temporary, it should give a unique result, and it should have a clear beginning and end. But I don't know if you know the percentage of the projects that is completed on time and on budget. It is about 20 or 30% all around the world. So this is the nature of the projects. They are not ending at the targeted time. They are not ending at the targeted budget. And this is the normal difficulty of the projects. So this is the nature of the projects. And when we come to the definition of project management, as I just mentioned, every project has a goal that it tries to reach. This goal, together with its requirements, forms the scope of the project. So it will have a definite scope. So this is coming from the project requirements. So the company has a mission and vision at the upper level, and then it goes to do down with the strategy, and it goes to down with the portfolio and program and the projects. So the lowest level of the vision is your project. And also projects has the project requirements, which means this is our scope. The project activities consist of breaking down this scope in detail. So the project management, the definition of project management is the application of our knowledge, our skills, which may be decision-making, communication, coaching, being a mentor, being a teacher. These are all our skills. Tools and techniques, maybe your schedule, maybe your cost, making a cost, making a budget, and trying to manage your risk. And these are the tools and techniques. Some other also PMI identifies 47 tools and techniques. 47 processes and lots of tens of hundreds of tools and techniques in this standard. So the definition of the project management is the application of this knowledge, skills, TTs to project activities to meet the project requirements. If we can manage the projects well, we can reach our goals more easily, satisfy our stakeholders. This point is very important, I think, because when we think about the stakeholders, when we evaluate the stakeholders, I think the word should be expectation. So if we manage projects well, we can satisfy our stakeholders, take timely action on the problems and risks in the projects. We can use our limited resources efficiently and manage our cost and project schedule in a healthy way. On the contrary, as you can see on the slide, on the contrary, if you don't manage the project well, what happens? Our reworks will increase and our quality will decrease. We will indirectly experience delays in the calendar and the schedule. Our costs will increase, and worst of all, we will experience loss of reputation. I am not sure, again, if you know the rate of the completion of projects in the projected scope, time and cost. Again, it is about 20 and 30%, 25% all around the world. I see some comments in the chat part. The screen is not visible. One of the participants told, but actually I already made the full screen, so I don't expect any problem. If other participants are experiencing a problem, please comment on the chat section, so I will try to correct if there is any mistake. So what is next? The iron triangle. As I just mentioned, we are trying to complete the projects within the requirements given to us. This is very important for a project manager to be in the scope. If the scope slides at different sites, the definition of this, we are calling this scope creep. This is the uncontrolled expansion of the project scope, and it is not required in the projects. The iron triangle says that if you change the scope, if your requirement changes, if you
Niye bakmıyorsun telefonuna?
are taking a new requirement.
Tamam da yani bir mesaj at, bir şey yap ki ben de bir merak etmeyeyim, değil mi?
Just a second. Okay. If you accept if the project manager accepts any requirement, so then the time and the cost changes. And also, if the requirement is about to change, if the customer revises or rephrases the requirement, and then again, the time and the cost may be changed. But if the time and cost changes, we already signed a contract with our customer, so we may be in trouble to meet the objectives of the project. So this may be a problem. In fact, according to PMI, there are 10 knowledge areas in the projects. I don't know if you are familiar with these concepts, the scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, resource management. It was earlier called human resources management, but then they changed it to resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and the stakeholder management. And the one which consists all of this management areas is the integration management, which means that the project manager sees and manages all of these processes at the top. And this is called integration management. The scope, time, and cost are three of them, of course, but knowledge areas other than the integration management somehow create scope for project, and costs are incurred in projects due to these works. As an example, for example, imagine that customers wants a new test and wants a new quality requirements, which we process under the quality management. So it is added to the calendar as a job, as a task, and it has a cost. Or you need to prepare regular reports, or you need to conduct regular meetings, regular project meetings. For example, every Mondays at 10 a.m. you have a regular project meetings. So they also increases your scope. And also has time and cost implications, since the scope will be bigger and bigger. So iron triangle, or in other words, triple constraints, tell us that when the scope of the project changes, it will have effects on time and cost. If we add a new requirement to the project or change a requirement, it will have an impact on schedule and cost. For this reason, change is relatively slow in traditional project management. The CCB, Change Control Board, comes into play, and all project points such as quality, risk, communication are reviewed in every change. So in the traditional project management, if we change any requirement, if there is something coming from the board, from the change control board, and it is approved by the board, then the project manager should review and, if applicable, should revise all of the planning documents, which are the scope management plan, requirement management plan, schedule management plan, schedule itself, cost management plan and the budget, risk management plan, the risk registers, the communication management plan. Maybe your new requirement requires a new meetings with your customer, or the procurement management plan. Maybe new requirement gives you or needs a new procurement management plan, or new subcontractors to be involved in the project. So the project manager should be very careful when the scope changes in the traditional project management world. Okay, let's look at the development life cycles. Actually, I need to emphasize this development life cycle from predictive to adaptive life cycles. I believe this is very important for project managers or candidate project managers to understand the differences between the predictive, iterative, incremental, and adaptive life cycles. So in the predictive life cycle world, which also called the waterfall, I think you are all familiar with the waterfall life cycle. Why they call this the waterfall life cycle? Because the requirements are all set earlier, beforehand, and they are not changing very fast, maybe very, very small with the change control board. So you have a definitive requirements. They are all clear. They are not changing. So you are writing your requirements, you are making your design, you are making the implementation, test, and integration. So this is the waterfall. But in the new world, nowadays, the projects are changing. So requirements are changing very fast. Competitors are moving very fast. Technology is changing very fast. So in such a world, it is getting harder and harder to manage projects traditionally. So the world is now the VUCA world. So the abbreviation of VUCA, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So if you think the Nokia, if you think the Kodak, they were present 10 years ago or 15 years ago, Nokia. So it was the maybe first cell phone all around the world. But nowadays, I don't think anybody have the Nokia smartphone. Maybe one of us or two of us has the Nokia, but they are not in the market in the smartphone world. So the world is changing very faster. The technology is changing very faster, and our competitors are adapting very fast. So since the world is now like that, we also need to adapt the environment. When our customer comes to us and say, hey, I don't want this requirement to be available in my project from now on, and I want to change my requirement. I want to have something different, or something which will be compatible to the new technological changes. So we as a supplier have to adapt also in the new changes. So if we look at other life cycles, I'm sorry, if we look at the other life cycles, we see iterative, incremental, and adaptive. There are differences between them, of course, but let me explain the differences. if you try to manage your project incrementally, this means that as you see on the upper right hand side, you see the Mona Lisa. And at the very beginning, you think that you will create a picture, create a painting, which is a pastoral woman or pastoral woman settings, but it will be look like Mona Lisa. But on the way, you are giving your customer some parts of the complete projects. On the first increment, you are giving the head. On the second increment, you are giving the right shoulder. On the final, you are giving the final picture. You are giving lots of deliveries. The customer uses these deliveries, but during the development, the customer is giving its feedback. But these feedbacks are not very dramatic. They are changing some parts of the painting, just some parts, and just some details. It is not very dramatically changed your project. But when you go to iterative management part, iterative development lifecycle, as you can see, it says, I want to make a woman painting in pastoral settings. So it may be Mona Lisa, it may be Elizabeth, it may be other women, but again, as you can see in the first attempt and in the second attempt, it is not similar to the Mona Lisa. So in the iterative, you are giving just one delivery, but you are taking lots of feedbacks from your customer. This is the iterative, but you are giving just one delivery. But when you go to adaptive life cycles, which is the base of agile project management, or which is the base, the Scrum. So if we try to apply the adaptive life cycles, this is the combination of the incremental life cycle and the adaptive life cycle, which means that you are giving lots of deliveries and you are taking lots of comments, lots of feedbacks from your customer. So your product or your project at the end result of your project changes on the way. But again, if you think the iron triangle, if you think your scope, if you think the iron triangle's other edges, which are time, which are cost, I think you will understand the difficulties of agile project management application in the natural world. So your scope is definite, your time is designed according to your scope, and your budget is set according to your time and your scope. So, but in the new world, in the VUCA world, the customers wants you to create your project, to evolve your project on the way. And requirements are changing very fast. But in this world, like this world, we need to manage our scope, we need to manage our budget, we need to manage our schedule. So we need to think about this dilemma between the traditional project management and the agile project management. So ultimately, in the iterative, as I already mentioned, you are giving the single delivery, but when you come to adaptive life cycles, you are giving lots of deliveries and lots of feedbacks. So what is agile project management then? As I already mentioned above, if you want to adapt to today's VUCA world, you have to respond very quickly to the upcoming changes. Your customer wants some requirements to be changed on the way. In order to respond quickly, you should plan your projects iteratively and produce continuous delivery, for example. Thus, you can get your customers' feedback quickly and adapt your product and your project. So as you can see from the description, Agile project management recommends dividing the project into smaller parts and managing it with iterations, also known as the sprints. I think you are very familiar with the Scrum sprints. It aims why we are giving lots of deliveries, why we are using the sprints 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks sprints, is because we aim to reduce the risk and satisfy our customer. And in this slide, and with the next slide, I want to talk about the 6 principles of Agile project management. Actually, some of these can also be applied to traditional project management, but we can say that they completely represent Agile project management. So our first principle is that the customer and the developers are in closer contact. I'm sorry. Actually, we need to be very close with our customers to get its feedback. It is very important for us to get the customer feedback. I know it will be difficult, it will change our scope, but if the success of the product means that your customer is happy, so we need to be very close contact with our customers. So the second principle is to make the estimates more lightweight at the beginning of the project, because requirements are changing very fast. So within your backlog, if your requirement at the upper level, so you can make your heavyweight estimations, but if the priority of this requirement is low, it is the bottom of the backlog, project backlog or product backlog, so you can make the lightweight estimations, so spend less time on planning at the beginning of the project if you are using the Agile project management. And the third principle is to keep the team between 3 and 9. So the smaller, the better. We don't want teams to be bigger than 9 person, and we want all the team cross-functional teams, not the very strict definitions of the project management. This is the project manager, this is the quality engineer, this is the business analyst. Instead of these definitions, we want all of the team to be a cross-functional team. And the fourth one, the project decisions are left to the last possible time to avoid rework because the changes are too much. So we want to delay the decision-making process. And the fifth principle is change in the principle of leadership style. So adaptive leadership is an emerging style nowadays, and the most popular one is the servant leadership. This is also very popular in the Agile world. I am sure you are seeing the servant leadership word in the LinkedIn word or in other discussions, but this is very popular, the servant leadership in nowadays. And the last principle is to implement lean practices as much as possible to increase the efficiency. So lean says that activities which don't contribute value should be eliminated. I don't know if you are familiar with the term, but the lean is the umbrella, and the Kanban and Agile is the subset of lean, and Scrum, extreme programming, DSDM are under the Agile world. So Agile is the umbrella of Scrum, of extreme programming, and DSDM, and the similar ones. So why I think you are getting familiar with why Agile project management is necessary. So as I explained above, the world is changing very fast. There is a reality like VUCA world. We recently experienced, for example, something like Corona that we were not prepared for. Nobody was expected like something like Corona. And for example, the global warming seriously threatens us, and we may not have seen its effects yet. We don't know what will happen in the near future. And also technology is advancing very fast. Now we are talking about not the innovation, disruptive innovations, because of the technology and because of the new ideas. And companies that did great work 10 years ago and are highly valuable are way down the list today. And today we are talking about artificial intelligence. I'm sorry. Today we are talking about the artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data. So these are also changing the type of work, the style of work we have already done. So in a such world, it becomes difficult to manage projects with traditional methods. So for which type of projects is Agile project management more efficient? The question is that, so if your projects are research and development projects, if you expect too much change in your projects compared to the beginning, if you have trouble to see forward, to see your near future, if your requirements are not clear, and if there is too much uncertainty in your projects, then your progress with Agile project management will make it easier for you to reach your goal. And as you can see here, the fixed scope is no longer fixed in Agile project management. So in the traditional project management, on the left-hand side, you can see here, this is the traditional project management. The scope is fixed, but in the Agile world, the scope is changing. So we are trying to fix the resources, which is the human resources and our money cost. And also we are trying to fix the time, the schedule. So since the scope is changing, in order to do this, we need sets of requirements with very well-defined priorities. So if you have your requirements very well designed, if they are prioritized already, for example, you have number one requirements at the upper level, and for example, if you give your requirement 0.4, which means that this is the lowest level of requirements, least prioritized requirement. So you can then manage your project better then. So what happens if the contract type is fixed price then? So another option will be to change your contract type from fixed price to cost reimbursable. The cost reimbursable CR, which is also named cost plus contracts, which means that your customer pays all the payments. So if there is some cost in your projects, your customer says that, okay, I will pay this one, and I will also give some profit to you. But in this contract type, the customer should be very careful. But in the if your requirements are not very clear, if the project's nature is research and development, I think the customer should select Agile project management. Of course, the customer should watch the project very closely and should understand what is going on in the project, and then make some approvals on the supplier side. But to me, Actually, in my opinion, if you change your contract type from fixed price to cost plus or cost reimbursable, the customer will be more flexible. Also, the supplier will be more flexible to manage the project. And the last slide, I want to give you a comparison of the traditional method and the agile method. And I try to examine it in 7 areas. So I aim to give you an idea. Accordingly, while we use waterfall and incremental in TPM, traditional project management, we use incremental, iterative, and adaptive in agile project management. Actually, planning is very important in traditional project management. We try to plan in detail, but in agile project management, we leave the plan more flexible as the requirements change very quickly. And making changes in the traditional project management is difficult, and the process is cumbersome. But in agile project management, actually we welcome change. We embrace change, we welcome change, and try to adapt. Again, while documentation is at the forefront in TPM, our priority at agile project management is to always have a working product instead of the documentation. This does not mean the documentation is not important in agile project management, but the priority is the working product. So while traditional project management has hierarchical and well-defined roles, in agile project management, we want the team to be cross-functional. And then finally, while we usually make a single delivery at the TPM, we try to make frequent deliveries in agile project management. Why? In order to get feedback and reduce risk by moving forward with sprints. So this was the difference and the comparison between the project management and the agile project management. So this was my last slide. Thank you very much for listening to me, for your patience. Actually, as I already mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, I will share with you a basic 5 questions quiz. Then you will get your participation certification, participant certification. So please follow the link, and then you will have the link to get your questions. Again, thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be pleased to answer. I see the question parts. Will the deck be circulated? Actually, I couldn't understand what you mean. I couldn't see the name of the participant, but he or she says, will the deck be circulated? So I am looking to... Okay, I am looking at the chat section. Okay, the link is already shared with you. Thank you, Alper Bey. So I see the question from Hani. The thing that I couldn't understand, so what about pros and cons in short points you said? What you mean with points? If you clarify what you mean with the points, I can answer this question. I guess you try to say that sprints instead of points short sprints or long sprints instead of points. This is the thing I couldn't understand. So you say as a 1, 2, 3 headlines, summarizing, let's say. Okay. I think you are saying for the 17th slide in the presentation, the pros and cons. Let's see of every technique. Okay, actually, thank you. Okay, I think I got your question. As far as I can. So if I am right, please correct me in the chat part. I think you are asking the pros and cons of traditional project management and the agile project management. So as I already mentioned, if your requirements are very clear, if they are set very clearly at the very beginning of your project from the customer or from the inner customer within your company, and you know the project very well, you know the requirements very well, so you don't need to apply agile project management, because nowadays some experts say agile project management should be applied all of the project. This is not correct. So again, if your requirements are very clear, if you already or earlier you already made a project like this, this is your second time, this is your third time to experience similar project, you don't need to follow the agile practices, you don't need to follow the iterative practices, because you don't need very heavy feedbacks in your project. So please follow the traditional project management, please follow waterfall development cycle if your requirements are clear. This is the difference, for example. And another pros of traditional project management, since your budget, since your time is fixed, the project manager is not forced to manage his or her projects, since the time and cost is fixed. This is another pros. But the cons is the change is very slow in the traditional project management. So if your customer define a new change, or if you define a new change, if your developer define a new change, it goes to change control board. The board have a meeting and they try to decide, they can approve it, they can reject it, they can defer it. And at the end of this meeting, if this is approved, then you have to go to all the planning documents and you need to revise all of the documents. I think this is the cons of the traditional project management. So if there is a change, it is small, it is very slow in traditional project management. But in the Agile world, it is very hard to catch your schedule. It is very hard to catch your cost, your budget, but it is very easy to track the changes. And I think if your customer have very big changes and lots of changes, they will be happy if you can respond to the changes. So this is the pros of Agile project management again. But the cons is you cannot catch your sometimes time, you cannot catch your budget, so you need to be very careful on the Agile project management approaches in this case. I'm not sure if I catch your question, Hani, thank you very much. It's the first presentation possible for you to share the first product. Actually, Ivana Smith, the presentation will be shared in the accounts of CFE. So please don't have a concern about that. Okay, I have to go. Okay, if the time is fixed and limited, we must go with traditional. So the time is fixed and the limited. I can say that if you can prioritize your requirements, because you can classify your requirements. For example, imagine that you have already classified your requirements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 is the most important, and the 5th is the least important. So if you already made this prioritization, although the time is fixed, you can again follow the agile practices. So the least important requirements can be eliminated, and if your customer wants you to make some new requirements, they can have new priority 1, and you can eliminate the lower level prioritized one. Okay. Okay, thank you very much in the chat section. Thank you, Hani. Thank you for participation. Okay, then. Okay, I think there isn't any question. I have just finished the quiz. Ajok, okay. Very good. Okay, have a nice day, Alper. Bye. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Again, we shared the questions. They are very simple questions. Please don't hesitate to answer the questions exactly. You will get 100%. Don't worry about that. And then you can have your participation certificate. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Then I will end the session. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.